Gather around. It's time for the show to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is...
Hey everyone, my name is Jason.
Hi friends, it's WWEEVa.
All right, there were so many matches this year that were just too much.
So this won't be a shocker because we've had a handful of really awesome matches that we just can't stop talking about.
How many times have these guys fought? Like it's been quite a bit.
I've been saying this all year. They're just so great to watch. We saw the heel turn coming, and then when it happened, nice and bloody, both dramatic and beautiful.
You are now entering the ring with Chutes and Ladders podcast. Here are your hosts, Desiree and Jason.
Chutes and Ladders, Hulk Hogan, Real American documentary. What's going on, everyone? My name is Jason.
Hi friends, it's WWEEVa.
Okay, we're diving into one of the most talked about wrestling documentaries right now. A lot of suspense, a lot of surprises. Des, what are your initial thoughts?
You know what? I love these kind of documentaries, regardless of, whatever controversy and how people feel about it. I love the history behind it. I love to know where a wrestler started and, just like behind the scenes stuff. I love that. If I can know everything, I would love it. So, you know what? It's not a bad watch. It's super quick. 4 episodes, 45 minutes each on Netflix, so it's a good way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what? This isn't just for the traditional wrestling fan. It can be for everyone because Hulk Hogan was definitely in the zeitgeist everywhere.
Yep.
All right, and the first question I want to ask you is, did this documentary tell the truth about Hulk Hogan? Did it protect the myth? What do you think?
I think a lot of people feel like he's been protected, and I mean he has, but I feel like we got to see more behind the curtain of who Terry Bollea was compared to Hulk Hogan too. So I feel like they definitely touched on a lot of the positive and the negative behind him. And this was negative during his early years and during his career and even at the end. So I don't think that they protected much. They were just really honest. And that's what I appreciated. It made him a real human rather than this immortal idol that we looked up to. So, but regardless, I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Again, there's going to be the good, there's going to be the bad, there's going to be a lot of in between, and I kind of think they touched on it. The fact that it was 4 episodes, they kind of broke it into sections, so it's for the wrestling fan, but it's also for anyone that is interested in just knowing more about who he is.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about the rise of Hulkamania in the NWA area. From red and yellow to Hollywood's black and white, Hogan's evolution might be one of the greatest character shifts ever. Des, when you watched that journey, what made you stop and say, okay, that was different? What stood out to you the most?
I paid a lot of attention to the 80s section of it where I didn't mean to laugh, but I kind of chuckled when both Vince McMahon and Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. both fired him. And I was like, he's been fired from the same company by a father and a son, and then he was fired again years later.
By Triple H. Yeah, I know.
Yes, and I was like, damn. And then he even made a joke. He goes, I'm really good at getting fired. And I'm like, you are, but you're also really good at bringing a pop and getting ass back just because of who you are. But besides that, I loved how and we know this, he is the reason why wrestling is what it is today. His partnership with Vince, they created an industry that could have been something that just blew up in their faces, even with WrestleMania 1, and then the success of WrestleMania 3, and just so on. And they created this character that America fell in love with, and it wasn't just wrestling fans. He was the first to succeed with transitioning to media and being a movie star and doing other things. So he opened the door for a lot of athletes to become another kind of star. And then he just constantly evolves himself. And then, here comes the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars and NWO. And he has one of, if not the best heel turn in wrestling history. It's like he's just never ending with this evolution of his character and who he is. So you've got to give him props. You may not be the biggest Hulk Hogan fan because of his personal decisions, but that doesn't ever discredit what he's earned in wrestling.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a couple things that just really stood out to me, and some of this is I heard from a podcast. So wrestlers basically said they wanted to make sure that they were on the same card as him because they basically got a pay bump. Mm-hmm. And back then in the 80s, he was basically making $30,000 per show, which is insanity. And this is the 80s. So, I mean, if you were to do the math on that now, it's a lot. Yeah. And just like you said, as far as the transition from where wrestling was, I mean, he kind of put it on the map. And obviously, the territories were united. They were now on cable television. But you need a star to kind of elevate. And Hulk Hogan was the guy. And a lot of people, when they don't think about WWF, they automatically think about Hulk Hogan. And that's why a lot of people, when they talk about wrestling, they don't say wrestling, they say WrestleMania. So to have those things kind of synonymous with just the average person outside of people like us that are fans, that's huge. I also, what really stood out to me, and I kind of thought this was interesting, they wanted to put Ultimate Warrior over.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah. And then it didn't pan. And it's funny because, again, now that we're older, we kind of understand, the method to the madness a little bit more. Back then, I kind of thought the same thing, because Hogan was basically gone from that time. So he was trying to hand it off, and it did not work, and they immediately had to put the belt back on him. So I just thought that was amazing, and kind of like what you said as far as consistently evolving. I mean, it was interesting. Again, now I know why that he said that movies weren't and TV shows weren't really what they thought they would be. And hats off to Eric Bischoff. As much as people don't like him, he chomped at the bit, took the opportunity and said, let's sign him. And then they basically signed a bunch of WWF guys, and they whooped WWF in the ratings for quite some time. So I thought this transition between WWF and then the NWO was actually done pretty masterfully. Again, especially if someone doesn't really know it as well as we do.
Yeah. And I did get a good laugh out of watching Ultimate Warrior trying to cut his promos.
Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard too. I didn't know they kept the outtakes on those.
Oh my god, it was hilarious. And we all know those are taped and they, are going to have bloopers, but I was like, oh my god, Warrior, come on now. And then with him signing and not looking at people, and I'm like, how can you be the champion when you can't even be personable? And then that whole thing with Brett, and I don't know, it just made me laugh.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, and that's another episode for another day with the whole, how he basically kind of screwed Brett, which, that was not cool. But you know what? One thing you have to definitely give him credit for, again, even Brett admitted this. Wrestlers back then, they wanted to make sure they're on the same card as Hogan because they all got extra bump in pay.
Got paid. Yeah.
All right. So now let's talk about impact of wrestling. Let me ask you this. If Hulk Hogan never existed, does wrestling look the same today, or is the whole game different?
No, I don't think so.
Not at all. I don't think so either.
I really feel like, because if you look at it back in the mid 80s, even early 80s, he was the only up and rising star that really propelled the sport. And I don't think Vince could have relied on anybody else to carry that. So, and I mean, look at him. Look at, the whole thing with Warrior and everything else in the 90s. He wanted to take a break to help raise his kids. And then they're like, well, what are we going to do? He goes, I got to book Chicago and Boston and New York. Who's going to come? And then the whole international tours. So it's like, there is no doubt there would not be any kind of world wrestling entertainment without Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and let me also kind of double down. Listen, I've been blessed to work in television for 7 years. We used to get ratings every single week. I don't know if people know this or not, but I'm pretty sure statistically over 90% of shows actually get canceled after the first season. So when Raw, first aired in 93, there was no guarantee that they're going to come back. And I don't think people necessarily realize that. And obviously WCW Nitro, they had their run, but if you notice, I mean, it kind of went down. There's kind of a downward spiral once things get down. So there is a such thing, like there's no such thing as being too big to fail. So hypothetically, if Hulk Hogan wasn't there, wrestling may have not have been on television for as long as it has and is today.
Yep.
All right, now let's talk about controversies. I mean, be honest. Did it feel like they told the story or just kind of brushed past it? What was your reaction watching his controversies?
I mean, some of them I really didn't care about, like the whole steroid thing.
Yeah, same here. I didn't either.
Like, they blew that up. I mean, I get it. It was the early 90s. I mean, you know, that was the time of, oh my God. And like, I love how they showed like the little kids saying, I hope you have a good life after this. And if you take these, you're going to die. And I was like, okay, God. But, you know, to me, that it's not that serious for me to be like, oh my God, I'm not gonna love Hulk Hogan anymore because he shoots up some extra testosterone. Big deal. And I mean, hey, if you could be healthy, do it. I don't care. That's none of my business. I don't care. Yeah, I kind of laughed at that, how they made that such a big thing. Obviously, we want people healthy. We're not supporting that, but we're just saying that's not a big deal to us fans. But the other ones that happened later in his life, like he had some affairs with some, you know, close people to his family.
And I didn't know about that. I heard, like, because it's funny when that whole Rolling Stone interview came out. Linda, I actually remember reading back, like, just she clapped back and said, "Look, let me tell my story."
Yeah, so their marriage was interesting. Very, you know, it's none of our business, but it is our business because they're showing it. But yeah, it was interesting, and I watched Hogan Knows Best. I think that came out when I was in high school or college, but I remember watching that on VH1. And I'm like, oh, I get to watch Hogan as a dad. And, you know, Brooke is our age and Nick is our age too. So, you know, we're like, this is what it, you know, and he lived right in Tampa, you know, in our area in Florida. So the other things, I mean, we know, you know, they brush along his ideas of politics and his openness and everything like that. And I'm the type of person, I don't care what your political are,
here.
because that's the point of having an opinion, and you're allowed to believe in what you want. So that's not going to keep me from being a fan or a friend or whatever. You know, just, you know, do your due diligence and your research on it. And I don't care. It doesn't matter to me what you are. So, yeah. But, you know, I get it. Some people take it personally, and that's okay. They're allowed to do that. But for me, personally, I don't care.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, I'm kind of with you. Steroids I didn't care about. His political views I don't care about. I thought it was cool that they got Donald Trump to come on the president to come on the documentary.
Yeah.
Look, if he wants to lie, but again, I'm kind of with you because look, the average person, if they support Trump or they're a Democrat, you know, no one really cares. But because he's a celebrity, it matters that much more. I do remember him getting booed. I didn't put two and two together, to be honest with you, at the time. I thought it was because of his other controversies. I didn't realize it's because he endorsed Donald Trump that people in LA, which is largely Democratic, is booed him because of that. I just thought, to me, that was silly. Like, you know, again, just like you said, we're allowed to choose, you know, how we vote. It's all good. Trust me, I have tons of friends that are on both sides. Florida, and Des, you know this is probably
everywhere.
You were literally one of those purple states in the country. The person to your left is going to be left, the person to your right is going to be right, and everywhere in between. So, again, maybe because we're not in the Hollywood bubble where they predominantly go one way, I didn't care about that either. I just, to each their own. You know, obviously they kind of brushed past like his racist remark. Listen, I will say this on the podcast. I am a person of grace and forgiveness. Hulk Hogan obviously is a believer. Did he make mistakes? Of course, but everyone does. So I actually forgive him for that. I don't think that we should basically tarnish him and call him just a racist and kind of blackball him because of that. Like, trust me when I say there are a lot of people that have said things that they shouldn't have, but they're not in the public eye, so they're held to a different standard, which, again, that's not necessarily the right thing either.
Right.
All right, Des, let's talk about his overall legacy. When you step back and look at everything, the tights, the impact, the controversy, the red and yellow, the black and white, where do you land on Hogan today?
You know, it's no secret. I am not a maniac because I'm part of the madness. So, but I am just honest with myself to know that he is the greatest. He made what the sport is. He made what one of my favorite things is. And he's a part of my childhood. He's a part of me, as a teenager. And I just grew up watching him. And towards the end of the documentary, when they were talking about his passing and his impact and all of, the older wrestlers speaking about him. And we heard from Kevin Nash, Hacksaw, Sergeant Slaughter, Jimmy Hart, a number of people. I got kind of teary-eyed towards the end when they were just flipping back through everything that he's achieved. And I'm like, that's all my childhood. That's all I know. And, I hate that, towards the end, he may not have felt good and maybe wasn't looked at in the greatest light. But that doesn't take away that of what he's meant to me. I feel like... there are some newer fans that don't realize how great he is and was. But he's done a lot. He's worked his ass off. And I really don't have a lot of words to say, but he deserves to be on a Mount Rushmore. Without a question. He's so good on the mic. He's incredibly great in the ring, so charismatic. And, he was like the original John Cena with Make-A-Wish and all the charities. So, if I feel like if you don't like a little bit of Hulk Hogan, there may be something a little wrong with you. You don't have to like the red and yellow, but you can be, too sweet. I don't know. But, there's something likable about him.
Listen, I have a friend that's a casual wrestling fan. He kind of was in and out. And one thing he actually said when Hulk passed, he said he was actually rewatching his, some of his matches. And one thing he said, and I actually agree, he said, look, Hulk Hogan really is the Babe Ruth of pro wrestling. When it comes to the pastime of wrestling, feel free to, anyone that's younger, most of it's on YouTube and such, you'll get to see, obviously it was a different era. But now listen, let's be honest, he wasn't the greatest in the ring from a technical standpoint. He wasn't. And I think a lot of people kind of resented him for that. Did he play politics to get to where he is again? Yeah, probably. But did other people try to do the same thing, and did they fail? Yeah, probably. To me, that's an interesting take as well. But as far as impact, again, Kevin Nash at one point in time, because I saw a shoot interview and said, look, no one's hitting curveballs, no one's making baskets, no one's making tackles or throwing touchdowns. In an industry where it's completely bogus and someone's telling you, lay down, it's all about who's making the most money. And at the time he said, Hogan's 1, Rock is 2. So whether you like him, dislike him, you have to acknowledge what he's done. So yeah, you could definitely argue he's the GOAT. Personally, that's hard for me to say just because I take other things into consideration. But from the overall zeitgeist, yeah, you can definitely say that.
Yeah, definitely. Is he on my Mount Rushmore? No.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, and that's because I'm vocal about who else I love, but I do not discredit anything. I think he has done so much, and I'm glad that they did a documentary on this and showed the good and the bad, because it's shining a light on, at the end of the day, it's Hulk. Come on now.
Amen. All right, Des, now we're going to do a fast count, brother. Are you ready?
Oh, man. Okay.
All right. One word to describe the documentary.
Nostalgia.
Did it change your opinion on Hulk Hogan?
No, because I'm very indifferent when it comes to them. So I knew it was going to be some good stuff and bad stuff, but no, it didn't change my mind on him.
Moment that stuck with you the most?
I really liked watching the stuff like in the 80s, like when they were talking about the first WrestleMania, that kind of stuff.
Love it. Something you wish they went deeper on?
I wanted to see maybe more of him in WCW. Maybe that ride.
Okay. And Hulk Hogan in one sentence. What's the legacy?
He's just a part of history. He is wrestling. If you think, when you say WrestleMania, you say WWE, you say WWF, everyone's like, yeah, I know Hulk Hogan. So, that's just what it is. So, yeah, he is wrestling.
Well said. And what are your final thoughts?
I think everyone should watch it. Even if you're not a wrestling fan or not, it's fun. He is part of pop culture. It's an easy watch, and I hope they do more on a few other stars.
I love it. All right, well, that wraps up this episode. What are your thoughts on this Hulk Hogan documentary? Please shoot us a DM at the Shoots and Ladders. Like always, please like, share, and subscribe, both on YouTube and Spotify. Once again, my name is Jason.
I'm Desiree Josen.
All right, until next time, have a blessed day and a blessed week.
Hey, say your prayers and eat your vitamins. Have a great week. Bye, friends.
This has been Shoots and Ladders. Follow us for more content.